Hello chess friends and welcome to Azarov's chess channel and welcome to my Basics in Chess series. So in this series we see opening principles, middle game strategy and middle game planning, and of course the end game strategy. So today I wanted to talk about some bad bishops again in the middle game. So in my previous video we did the video about how you should fight against the bishop in the middle game. So with these three ways, with this first idea to get out of the way of the bishop, and the second idea was to block out the bishop, and the third idea is creating this bad bishop situation. So today I really wanted to talk more about this bad bishop situation, as I promised, and you see this bad bishop idea in the middle game is really a strong one, because when you sense your opponent has this bad bishop, you can simply play on that weakness. And how you should play against this bad bishop? Well, the best way and the most easiest way to memorize is this situation with this favorable trades of pieces. So that means you can trade all of your pieces here, maybe your rooks, your queen, your knights, and this dark square bishop, in order to leave here this bad bishop situation like this, in this position that white has here on the square c2. So the destructive game that I wanted to show you, it was played by Arthur Pipers, and with the white pieces against Oleg Romanishin here with the black pieces. And you see we have here now the bad bishop situation on the square c2. The bishop is blocked out by its own pawns, and the bishop cannot also go into the game here, maybe through the square of b3, because here we have also a pawn on d5. So this bishop is blocked out. As I said, we are now searching for this favorable trades of pieces. So that means we want to get rid of all of these pieces, maybe of this rooks, knights, and his dark square bishop, and continue the game with this bad bishop on c2. So let's see now how the top grandmaster Oleg Romanishin does it here. He plays first the move knight on f4. I'm not gonna explain, as I always love to say here in my Basics in Chess series, I'm not explain the game through this tactical ideas. I'm just want to explain this game through this middle game plannings. And here knight on f4, we have knight on e2, and now we have our first favorable trade of piece here. Knight takes on e2, rook takes on e2. So now h5, which meets with the idea to play the pawns on this opposite colored squares that I've also explained in my previous video, and I'll show you the link of that video, of course, at the end of this video. So here, of course, with the preparation to play the move b4, and you see after maybe moves as c4, you see again this will again more block this bishop on c2. So here knight on h2 was played, and now a strong idea, bishop on c8. If the knight jumps out here on g4, then of course we'll take the knight on g4, and then we only have to trade off our dark square bishop, and you see white will continue the game again with this bad bishop on c2. So here rook on f1, bishop on g7. Again we are searching for the favorable trade of the pieces. Here bishop on g7, and now king on g7. So now only what we have to do is get rid of this knight. So of course we can also get rid of this knight by our own knight with b6, and I hope you realize this is not something complicated. Black is simply playing for this trades of pieces and wants to go into an endgame. So here f4, e takes f4, queen takes f4, rook on a7. As I said, I'm not gonna explain all of these moves, just this strategical idea. So here bishop on d3, b4, again putting our pawns on this dark squares. So here after c4, you see white really blocked out its bishop. So here queen on e7, rook from e to f2, a4, bishop on c2, queen on d8, knight on f3, and now f6, g4, rook on f8, rook on g2, queen on e7, king on h2, a takes b3, a takes b3, and now knight on d7. Of course we want to bring our knight here on the square e5, and again trade off the knights, and this will be also a favorable trade of the pieces. So here h4 was played. Now of course knight on e5, knight takes on e5, you see f takes e5, and now we are trading even more pieces here. After queen, rook takes on f8, king takes on f8, and now rook on rook on f2, and now king on e7. So now we have a possibility, of course, to play the rook here on this square a2, and here, of course, bishop on d1 was played. So you see, white has really troubles in to get his bishop into the game. So here, rook on a1, rook on d2, rook on c1, rook on d3, and now a very strong move, rook on c3. So rook takes on c3, b takes c3, and now we have created this bad bishop endgame. You see, again, this bishop is blocked out by its own pawns. All of these pawns are on the like squares, so of course it's possible with this bishop to attack these pawns. So let's see now. g5, king on d8, king on g3, king on c7, king on f3. Of course we want to bring our king here on b4, king on b6, king on e3, king on a5, king on d3, king on b4, king on c2. Now the bishop has to play, of course. Bishop on h3, bishop on f3, we have bishop on f1, bishop on h1, and now a very nice move, bishop on d3. In this position white resigned, because if you take the bishop, then you get king takes on b3, and there's no way for white to prevent this pawn from promotion. So you see, I think black didn't play anything complicated here. He simply played this for this favorable trades of pieces, and he wanted to create this bad bishop situation in an endgame, and he managed to do that, of course, and win the game. So let's see now another good example. This is now a game between Mikhail Botvinnik here with the white pieces against Cenik Kotnauer with the black pieces, and here we have a position in which black's bishop still can play. It has a good diagonal here, but I hope you realize so it has here this diagonal from c8 to h3. So I hope you realize that, but it's still a bad bishop, because these two pawns in the center are on this like square. So you see, again, we are searching for our favorable trade of the piece. So basically what we want to do is maybe to trade off our bishop for the knight. So the knight is the only piece that can actively play from black's perspective. So here a knight on a4 was played. Of course we want to cement the knight on c5 and really prevent this c5 move, because then the bishop will come into the game, of course. So here knight on e7 was played, knight on c5, bishop on c8. We have here a3, rook on b8, and now bishop on d3. Now comes the move knight on f5, and as I said, again we have this favorable trade of the piece. So here bishop takes on f5, bishop takes on f5, and now you see these two pawns are really an object of white's attack. You may not take this pawn, maybe you try to get him, but you see that's not the problem here. Meanwhile, while black tries to defend these two pawns, we can gain some better activity with our other pieces, maybe here with the rooks. So here king on f2 was played, h4, rook on h1, h3, rook from c to e1, g6, and now after rook takes on e1, we have here rook on c8, and now king on g3, bishop takes on g6, and now king on h3, bishop on f5, we have king on g3. You see this knight is very good. These two pawns are really weak. So here rook on b8 was played, rook on e2, king on f7, king on f2, bishop on c8, king on e1, rook on a8, and now king on d2, rook on a7, rook on e1, rook on e7, rook on b1. Here we have rook on a7, a4, king on e7, rook on h1, king on d6, rook on h8. You see the bishop is doesn't have good squares here in this position, so bishop on f5, the only square. So here rook on e8, king on c3, king on b6, pardon me, king on c3 and king on b6, b4, a takes b4, king takes on b4, now rook on f7, and now rook on a8. And in this position black resigned, because we have here the threats to play the move a5, and then after that maybe rook on h7, and if you try maybe rook on h7 yourself, you get a5 then. So you see, this was of course a very nice positional game by the legendary Mikhail Botvinnik, and I hope you realize that really black had really this problem with this like square bishop, because it was only sort of a defender of these two pawns, although we didn't take these pawns, but black got really deflected while defending these pawns, and meanwhile we could play actively with our other pieces. So I hope you realize this idea. When you see that your opponent has this bad bishop situation, when his pawns are on the same colored squares, you should search for these favorable trades of pieces, and of course try to go into an endgame. That has to be your strategical idea in a middle game, and I think it's not something complicated, and I think it's easy to memorize. Okay, I hope also that you enjoyed this video. Meanwhile, you can also watch my previous video that I explained how you should play against bishop, and you can also watch my best chess games of all time. There they explain you the best chess games that have been ever played in chess history, and you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, and chess is the best, of course.